It's time now for Flashback, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. On Monday, we told you about the unfortunate death of Ooluwa Ayoola, the 22-year-old fashion designer who boarded a BRT bus here in Lagos. The driver of the bus Rapid Transit was arrested and paraded by the Department of State Service. The suspect, who absconded, was later arrested in the Odogbolu area of Ogun State.
But I pick her from Chevron. Okay. Then I picked the other three guys at Agbigin. Okay. When those guys showed me the weapon, as I was saying, sir, I was I can't be myself anymore. Fears have come in me. So whatever the man on guns sit down there, whatever he told me, is what I do. When I followed that Kata bridge, after that overhead bridge, they ordered me to stop there. And when they ordered me to stop, so I should open the door. When I opened the door, then they now track. When they come down, they now start dragging her down. When I saw she was crying for help, actually I'm helpless. So I was just thinking that she's inside the vehicle holding the iron. So I move on. I arrested her last night.
How did they arrest you?
Where I ran to was when the issue happened. I'm afraid.
Meanwhile, the elder brother to the deceased, Buni Abegunde, says the news of the brutal killing of his younger sister was a shock to the family. He also urged security operatives to ensure justice is served on the matter. Also on Monday this week, the Communications Secretary of a socio-cultural group, Ooluwa Worldwide, Maxwell Adeleye, announced that the Yoruba Nation activist Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Sunday Igboho, was released from detention by the Benin Republic authorities. According to a statement Mr. Adeleye released, the activist was released and handed over to the leader of the Ooluwa Worldwide, Banji Akitoye. The statement also described the release of Mr. Igboho as a triumph of truth over darkness in Yoruba land. Mr. Adeleye told TVC News in a telephone conversation that Sunday Adeyemo was released because there was no case against him in the Republic of Benin.
The man we call Igboho has just been released, as we said. They have been released to the leader of the Yoruba self-determination struggle, Professor Banji Akitoye, and the deputy, Professor Wale Adeniro. To speak to you, Igboho will be sleeping in his apartment in Cotonou, the capital, the commercial capital of the Republic tonight. And in the next 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to release some photographs to the watch to show that Igboho is indeed a free man and is an happy man. And by the grace of to God be the glory, in the fit, fail, and healthy. But the fact is that Igboho is likely to remain in the Republic for
Tuesday this week, lawmakers decided to revisit key gender issues, including indigenship and the 35% affirmation action bills for women. And these bills were said to be recommended for consideration and will now be part of the second batch of the constitutional amendment to be presented in a couple of months. This decision to revisit the bills followed an earlier disapproval by women who had stormed the National Assembly in Abuja, lamenting over the rejection of these women-related bills.
Assembly voted the gender equality bills, a decision Nigerian women did not take lightly. It has been followed up by protests from different quarters. Last week, a number of civil society groups made up of mostly women blocked the entrance to the National Assembly in protest in the lawmakers' vote against the bill that would have created special seats at the National and State Houses of Assembly for women. They are here again in their numbers with the same request. They say they won't back down until the bill is called for reconsideration.
So we are insisting that they must redress the wrong. They must be able to recommit the bill. or give us the option. They can't tell us that this is the end of the story because we are not going to agree.
If only many women are also in there, it's about economy as well. But we are asking them that a man cannot stand and talk for labor what? Only women can talk about how painful labor is to bring a human being out.
That may have influenced the decision of the House of Representatives to budge from its earlier position. It has now agreed to reconsider 3 of the pro-women bills that failed to secure majority votes in order to take its place among amendments made to the 1999 Constitution.
Right now in the House of Representatives that we need to attend to. Last week, the House voted on the constitutional amendment, and there are issues arising therefrom, and the House, in its wisdom, has decided to take a course of action.
The bills to be considered are those bordering on citizenship, indigenship, and the 35% affirmative action for women.
The cliché, what a man can do.
We move to Wednesday now, where the Senate in Abuja rejected President Muhammadu Buhari's proposed amendment of the Electoral Act 2022. The bill to amend the act was sent to the National Assembly by the President. It scaled through the first reading at the Senate, but then majority of senators opposed the consideration of the amendment to the bill at the plenary when the Senate leader Abdullahi Yahya moved a motion for the bill to be considered a second time.
It's been a week since the National Assembly voted the gender equality bills, a decision Nigerian women did not take lightly. It has been followed up by protests from different quarters. Last week, a number of civil society groups made up of mostly women blocked the entrance to the National Assembly in protest in the lawmakers' vote against the bill that would have created special seats at the National and State Houses of Assembly for women. They are here again in their numbers with the same request.
We apologize for that mix-up. The Federal Executive Council still on Wednesday this week approved a ban on foreigners and their representatives purchasing agricultural produce at the farm gate. Now only licensed and duly registered local buying agents can buy produce directly from farmers in Nigeria. And as part of FEC's approval, the Attorney General will now draft a law that will be sent to the National Assembly to support the implementation of this new policy.
The GMD of NNPC had earlier informed the council that 2.9 billion litres of petrol is available to last for 32 days and also ease the hardship motorists are currently experiencing at fuel stations across the country. Another memo that got council's approval is for the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy for the introduction of another important layer of quality assurance certificate in government's digital services. This means any government institution that undertakes a project that is up to 1 billion naira is mandated and directed to obtain a quality assurance certificate from the National Information Technology Development Agency.
All federal public institutions have been mandated by law and also by government policies that before they embark on any information technology project, they must obtain IT project clearance.
The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment got approval to implement a policy that will promote agribusiness in Nigeria through a farm gate pricing system that will ban foreigners and other representatives from purchasing agricultural commodities at the farm gates.
This memo was necessitated by the need for government to establish an appropriate mechanism that would not only protect our farmers in terms of achieving the right prices for their goods, for their commodities, but also ensure that they have the appropriate incentives.
Approval was also granted for the Trade Policy Action Plan, which seeks to unleash Nigeria's development potentials through trade and investment. This is one of the deliberate plans by the federal government to grow the non-oil economy and boost revenue.
Thursday now, the Lagos State government announced that sex offenders will now have their names and pictures published by the government. This is aimed at containing the increasing rate of domestic and sexual violence in the state. The Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, Titilola Vaivo-Adeniyi, stated this during a press conference at the agency's office. The details of this register include the nature of the offense, as well as the duration of the sentence handed down by the court. Mrs. Adeniyi noted that letters of advisory had been issued to local governments and traditional rulers of the communities where the convicts had previously resided. Still on Thursday, a high court in Ebonyi State asked Governor Dave Umahi and his deputy Eric Kelechi Igwe not to vacate their seats. This order came after a federal high court in Abuja ordered that the governor and his deputy be replaced for leaving the PDP, which is the party on whose platform they had won re-election in 2019. The State High Court had on February the 28th struck out a case challenging the governor's defection to the APC, and on that day the court held that the government or the judgments remained valid and binding on all parties and authorities. The court stressed that not just those who were parties in the suit before the court are bound by its judgment, but anyone who has anything to do with the status of the office of the governor and his deputy. On Friday, a magistrate court sitting in the Yaba area of Lagos ordered that the suspect in the death of Ooluwa Ayoola, Andrew Nice, will spend the next 30 days behind bars. The BRT driver was alleged to be involved in the death of his passenger, the late Miss Ayoola. The officer in charge of legal, Yetunde Kadoso, who represents the police, had filed the remand application premised on 4 counts of alleged murder, sexual assault, misconduct, and interference with the corpse. Finally, on Friday,
held that the suspect was to be remanded pending a legal advice from the Lagos State Directorate of Public Prosecution, DPP. The court order was made after a request by police prosecutor Yetunde Kadoso that, quote, there was probable cause to order the remand of the defendant pending legal advice. The defendant, who was presented before the magistrate, was charged with alleged conspiracy, murder, rape, and misconduct with the deceased corpse. The offences were said to have been committed on or about February 26, 2022. The charges were read to him, but his plea was not taken. Further information on the charge sheet prepared by the Nigeria Police Force Lagos Command, as seen by TVC News, revealed that the defendant was arrested in Shagamu, Ogun State, where he had absconded to. Family members of the deceased were in court along with their counsel.
I also obtained that order, and the suspect is now remanded. In prison custody. The corporate criminal responsibility of Lagos Bus Services Limited. We have so demanded that the managing director and the director should be arrested. Then 2 is the fact that there were availment of facts which we cannot speak on as at now. At the appropriate forum before the court would interrogate those issues. But we think at this level there should be autopsy on the body of the deceased.
Did our own checking, myself and some family members. We didn't really see anything, though she had a cut in her, I guess, was it left or right ear. But we await the post-mortem to determine if anything was done to her.
While the Lagos State Attorney General, Moyosore Onigbanjo, said the Ministry of Justice will prosecute anyone found to be linked with the crimes, many are clamoring that justice be served diligently and speedily.
Finally, on Friday this week, the All Progressives Congress dismissed a letter written to the party by the Independent National Electoral Commission on the need to give the commission a 21-day notice for its national convention slated for March the 26th. Spokesman of the party's caretaker extraordinary convention planning committee, Ismail Ahmed, made this known at a news conference at the party's national secretariat.
As part of its move to stabilize the party, the Niger State Governor took over as acting national chairman of the Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. He announced the notice of meeting of the National Executive Committee of the party, where an official seal of the approving organ of the party will be secured. Governor Sani Bello on Wednesday wrote INEC in his capacity as the acting national chairman of the APC's Caretaker Committee, inviting the Commission to their National Executive Committee meeting scheduled for next week Thursday via Zoom. But the Independent National Electoral Commission replied that it is not aware of the leadership change in the ruling All Progressives Congress. By implication, it means that INEC is yet to be formally notified of the leadership change in APC for the new leadership led by Governor Sani Bello to formally write INEC for official matters. The Electoral Act 2022 in Article 82 subsection 1 states, every registered political party shall give the Commission at least 21-day notice of any convention, congress, conference or meeting convened for the purpose of merger and electing members of its executive committees or the governing bodies or nominating candidates for any of the elective offices specified under this Act. But the party is insisting it had earlier intimated the Commission of its intent to conduct its national convention on February 26th. It insists that what is now required to formalize its new date of March 26th is a notice of an adjustment and not a fresh 21-day notice.
The moment the CECPC agreed on the 26th of March, that letter was written to INEC, it was effected. INEC have accepted that letter, so that is long gone. It's not an issue.
INEC's stance appear to be aggravating the crisis in the ruling party and again puts the much-anticipated March 26th National Convention